Hello, everyone, and welcome along to our live webinar. And this webinar is about our Canadian version. And the agenda for today is we will start with a high-level overview about Lendlord to cover all the functionalities in a brief. And then we will deep dive into how you can manage your property data, your portfolio using Lendlord. We'll discuss how you can enter the property details into the platform or upload it from a spreadsheet, how you can slice and dice the data, how you can customize views. So basically you can see segments or sub-segments of your data easily. Then we discuss how you can set up a key event, reminders, due dates. We'll show you the new documents module. This is part of the premium plan, so we'll discuss it in a brief. We'll also touch how you can manage your tenants and tenancies, and eventually how you can review your portfolio in a high level and get the relevant insights. And in the end, we'll have some time for questions and answers. Let's start. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to put it on the chat, and we will answer it either on the go if it's relevant to the topic or in the end of the meeting. All right, so let's start with a high-level overview about Lendlord. Okay, so Lendlord has basically three main functionality areas. One is invest. In the invest part, in the Canadian version, you can use the deal analyzer. The deal analyzer is a great tool to analyze potential acquisitions, property deals. You just need to start with typing the address, put two data items, the purchase price and the expected monthly rent. Immediately you will see your first year metrics and the long-term metrics based on the platform defaults. But starting this point, you can start and tweaking the data, and you can add all the purchase costs. Then you can manage the mortgage details of this deal. You can see how much cash you need to put down. If you have any annual property taxes, you can also add them. Then you can enter the monthly operating expenses. And in the long-term assumptions, you can put your assumptions for the long-term in terms of property appreciation, rental appreciation, and inflation, and also the occupancy rate. For instance, 92% means that 1 month every year the property will be empty. But if you expect higher occupancy rate, just change the number. And you can also apply what-if scenarios, best case, worst case, standard, and you can add any scenario that you want that will impact your long-term metrics. Then you can go into the prospect report, and then you can get the details, the entire details of the deal. You can see the charts of the development of your equity over the years, the development of your cash flow. You can also review the holding period breakdown, and you can export this report to PDF, and this is part of the premium plan of Lendlord. The deal analyzer is part of the free plan. Another thing that you can do with the flip analyzer is generating a works plan, schedule of works. Just put the item, some descriptions, and you can put the dates when you're going to start the specific work and when it's about to end. And then you can create a list of items, and you can export it to PDF or to Excel. This is the invest part. You also have a flip analyzer if you want to analyze a flip project, which means you buy the property, do some improvements, refurbishment, and then sell it. The second area is the manage. So after you acquire the property, or if you own an existing portfolio, you can manage your portfolio details on Lendlord. The main screen is My Portfolio, which we will explain more in deep during this webinar. Here, basically, you can manage the data of all of your properties. You can filter the data, and you can apply different views. On the manage side, you also have the My Tenants page, which you can manage your tenants and tenancies. On the payment schedule page, you can track the rent collection. You can see how much is expected in this period, how much was paid already, how much is due, how much is overdue, and you can see the details. You can also track the rent from here, but the best place to track the rent collection and all transactions is from the cash flows area. And on the transactions page, you can either add a transaction manually, or you can link your bank account using our secure connection with Plaid. We get read access only to your bank account, and then the platform will retrieve the transactions every 24 hours. You will receive a wizard. You will just need to allocate the transaction to the relevant property. And if it's a rent income, then you need to allocate it to a property and the specific tenant. And of course, you can apply some rules. So next time the platform will receive the transaction, it will allocate it automatically. On the profit and loss page, you can review your income and expenses for the entire portfolio or for a specific property. And on the reports page, you can generate reports. It can be P&L report, property breakdown report. You can see the income and expenses for each property. The expenses breakdown, you can see how much you spend on each category. The income breakdown, it's the same just for the income side, and also a tax report. The interactive report is a high-level summary of your portfolio. You can review the metrics in a brief, in a one page, and then you can go property by property. If you can update some of the details here. So for instance, if you think that the property now is worth more, you can update it also from this report. And then you can see what is the level of equity you have on this property right now. You can see the performance of this specific property in terms of 3 different metrics: net cash flow, cash on cash, and gross yield, and how this property ranked if you compare it to your other properties. And you can also update the monthly figures, so if the rent has changed or the mortgage. And this is a great way just to review your entire portfolio. And the third area is the finance side. Currently, we provide mortgages with a partnership with HomeWise. You can see the current live rates from different lenders based on some filters, and you can apply online. Bridge financing is something that is coming soon with another partner. So let's go back to our agenda. So we covered the high-level overview, and now let's start discussing the other items. So how to upload my property details. So I will go to manage from the menu to my portfolio. So the first option to add properties is using this button, add property. You click on add property, and then you will receive this window, and you can start entering the details of the property, starting with the address. You can put some notes. It can be either a rental property, or you can add your own residence. property purchase price, what is the current value based on your estimation, when you purchase this property, what is the current rental income, and if there are some property taxes, annual taxes, you can edit these as well. And of course, the ownership. So landlord can manage multiple owners, and all of these owners can be managed on your landlord account. So let's say that Oliver in this case owns 50%. I can add owner, and then it will take it. I already entered different owners to this account, so I can just select and put the ownerships. The good thing with the ownerships is that after that, and I will show you, you can filter the data on a specific owner, and you can also see, for instance, the equity based on the percentage of the ownership. So you can see what is the level of equity that just Oliver owns. Then you have the mortgage info. You can put the lender, started, end date. I will not do it now. All the relevant details about your mortgage. And then you can go section by section, the property details, data about utilities and your suppliers, data about your insurance of this property. If you have a second mortgage or secured loan or a short-term loan, you can also add all of these details here. You need just to click save, and it will save the property. Another option is to upload a spreadsheet. So in case you maintain a spreadsheet, in a few clicks, you can upload the spreadsheet to Lendlord, and you can use the example file, but you don't have to put the columns that Lendlord expects to get. Let's see if I have a portfolio example spreadsheet. Let's try this. Then after I upload the portfolio, I just need to map the fields of the platform to the fields in the spreadsheet. And then after I completed the mapping, click continue, review the data, and by clicking confirm, Lendlord will upload all of this data to your My Portfolio page. So this is an easier way to upload all the data. And don't worry, after that, you can, of course, add more data, edit the data, tweak the data. Just hover over the property row, click on the edit icon, and complete the missing data. So this is the way you can add and enter your properties to the platform. Next topic, how to...
So Aviram, we have some question. I think we can answer that at the end about the tax report.
Okay, so let's touch it in the questions and answers session. You know, in a brief, I can say about the tax reports in the report section that we are still working on adjusting the tax report. So it just can give you now an indication, but hopefully in the next version, I would say in 2 versions, like in 1 month, you should see a different tax report adjusted to the Canadian rules. All right, how to filter my data. So again, on My Portfolio, and you will see those filters on other screens as well. So the filters are available, and you can filter 4 different things. 1, properties. So the default is to show your entire portfolio, all properties that you enter to the platform, but you can select a specific property, and you can see the data of this property and the summary of this property. And you can also select several properties together. And you can see just subset of your portfolio by using the properties filter. I will touch the prospects in a sec. The owners filter. So here you can filter properties by owners. So if I click Oliver, so Oliver owns 7 properties, but he does not own 100% of all of these properties. So I can use this toggle, show values by percentage, and then you can see the share of Oliver in the equity, for instance, or the property value or the loan balance. So this is just Oliver's part. But if you want to see the value of all those 7 properties, of course, you can use this toggle on the other side. So this is a great way to see one owner on landlord account and the properties that he owns. And of course, you can also use 2 owners or 3 owners together. The 4th filter is the ownership, and on each property on the ownership section, you can mention if this property is owned by a company or by or privately owned. If it's a company, you can manage different companies on one landlord account, and you can name the company. By the way, the place to manage companies and portfolio owners are from the right top menu. You can go to portfolio owners, you can see all the owners in this account, and you can go to companies to manage companies. Currently, we have only one company, but you can add as many companies that you want. So if you want to see just the private owned properties, you can filter by selecting the private value. If you want to see just the company ones, choose company. And if you want to see specific company, of course, in this case, I have only one, but let's say that I have more, then you can just select the specific company and see the data. And the last filter I will discuss is the prospects filter. So let's say that you analyze a deal on the deal analyzer and you click save. The prospect property will be stored on your My Portfolio as well under this filter. So if I want to see all my prospect properties, I will untick the all properties, and then I will select all prospects, and I can see all my prospect properties here. The good thing with prospect is that we'll touch on the filters, but the views, but you can change to the performance view, and then you can compare the metrics. So I can order the cash on cash column and can see which prospect properties based on my analysis will provide me the highest cash on cash. And I can also play with the other parameters. And of course, if you want to see a specific prospect property, just select this one. Or if you want to compare 2 prospects together, you can see them one after one. So this is the prospects filter. So this is the way you can filter the data. You will see similar filters on my tenants, on the profit and loss page, and also on the reports. So almost in any page, you can filter the data based on those filters. All right, let's go to the next topic. So how you can customize different portfolio views. I will go back to my portfolio, and the row above the table is the views row, and here you can see the predefined views by the platform. So the default view contains important details about each property, but if you want to change the columns or to change the order of the columns, click on Manage Views, go to the default view, Then you can see which columns are now selected, and you can change the selection. You can add columns or you can remove columns, and you can also drag and drop if you want to change the order of the columns. Click Save. And the default view will change. And we have other predefined views. The equity view, actually, I really like this view because you just see the address, how much equity you have in this property, and what is the current loan to value. And you can order by the equity from top down or vice versa, and also the LTV. The performance view will calculate based on the data that you put on the profit and loss, what was your last 12-month metrics. It can be cash on cash, gross yield, net cash flow, and also based on your expectations the next 12 months. Excuse me, sorry, 30 seconds, I will be with you. All right, excuse me. And you can also manage and create new views by clicking on Manage Views and click Add View. When you click Add View, you can name it. And you can select the columns you want to see on this view. Let's say I want address, purchase price, property value, purchase date, and click Save. And then basically this is the way you can create view. Oriel, if you can take over, perhaps just discuss in a brief what is the importance of the My Portfolio, and I will be with you in 1 minute, sorry.
Yeah, sure. So I will share. Hello, everyone. Okay, see, I can share my screen. Just a sec. Okay, yeah. Sorry about that. 30 seconds.
I'm back, Oriel, sorry.
Okay.
It was my kid, apologize for that, guys. Let's continue. All right. So we discussed how you can manage views, how you can create your own views, how you can change the predefined views. And the last view I want to show you is the map view. So when you click map view, basically we use a Google map to show your properties in a map. Sorry, 1 second. And then of course you can use a different view of the map to see the area. I think I took the wrong one. 1 second, sorry. Let's see if this will work now. Okay. Yeah, so you can, it's a great, so if it can, it's also available on the deal analyzer, because when you analyze your property deal, look at Google Map, you know, it's not a replacement for actually inspect the area but it's a great way to take a look on the neighborhood and on the other properties around the property you want to purchase or the property you own. So this is a nice feature, so you can basically use the map view to see your properties on the map. All right, let's go to the next topic, how to set up key event reminders. So again, we go back to my portfolio, and when you edit or when you add details to a property, there are some dates. So for instance, let's take the landlord insurance. I will take a different property without end date right now. So when you put the insurance end date, let's say that my insurance is about to renew in the 24th of May, the platform will create an alert for you. So I click save. You can see here on the alerts, I have 4 alerts. When I click save, I will have now 5. So it will take the dates that are due in the next 3 months. And you can see here the key event, the property, and the date. You will also receive an email notification, which you can control from the settings page. And if you use our mobile app, you will also receive a mobile app notification before the due date. There is this wizard from the portfolio dashboard, portfolio overview. So just this is a great way to enter all the dates using this wizard. So we did go property by property and we'll ask you all the missing dates. So I didn't enter the insurance end date for this property. So I can use this wizard from the dashboard to add all the due dates, and it will take me to the next one. All right, so this was how you can manage due date notifications. How to upload and store documents, our next topic. So actually this is, so we had the option to upload properties before, but this is a new feature from today, My Documents. And My Documents is a summary of all of your documents in one place. Before I show you how you can use this page, I will go back to my portfolio, because on each property, if you hover over the property row, click on the 3 dots, you can click on upload documents and upload all the relevant documents you want to store for this property. These are the predefined lists, but of course you can upload any other document. The documents module is part of our premium plan, which is $79 per year. And if I'm not mistaken, or correct me if I'm wrong, $9 per month.
Yeah, that's right.
It's quite affordable. And there are several features under the premium plan. Most of the features are free to use. So this is one way to upload documents, property by property. And if you want to upload documents to the tenancy level, you can also do it from My Tenants page. My Documents is the summary of all the documents that you uploaded from our portfolio, but you can also upload all the documents from here for all of your properties. The next version of this module will be packages. So in a few clicks, you can create a package of documents and share them, for instance, with a potential buyer or with your broker. So this is something that is coming very soon, actually. So this is the way you can store and manage your documents. Let's continue to the next topic. How to store my tenants and tenancies data. So After you enter your properties, or you can do it property by property, you can go to My Tenants. On My Tenants, it's very similar to my portfolio. You can either add a tenant by tenant, or you can upload the CSV file with all of your tenant details. Let's do it now one by one, just for an example. You can put the tenant's name. If you want to keep his contact details, you can put them. You can put some notes. If the tenant is still a prospect tenant, you can also manage a prospect list on Lendlord. Just use this toggle. And then you need to put the tenancy details, of course, the property. If you have more than one unit to this property, you can put the unit name, the tenancy period, what is the current rent payment for this specific unit, the frequency of the payment, it's a weekly, bi-weekly, 4-weekly, monthly, etc. And the starting means like when you expect to see the first payment. You can also set a rent review if you want to review it annually or quarterly, and to set the first rent review date. By the way, this is another due date that the platform will track, and you will receive a reminder before the time you need to review the rent. And if you have some security details, you can also put them here. By the way, we are open. We get feedback constantly using the chat box here. So if you're missing details that some of the details that you want to store, feel free to send us a message, and we'll make sure to add the details so you can store them in the next version. And then you click Save. When you click Save, the platform will create the payment schedule for this tenant and tenancy. So it's basically being created automatically based on the data that I just entered. The start date of the tenancy, the end date, the rental payment, and the frequency. If you're not happy with what the platform has just generated, you can use the edit icon to edit the payment. You can add payment, or you can remove payment. So basically, you can tweak the payment schedule table. If you're happy, click Submit. And then we have the tenants created. You can click on the tenant to see the summary of the tenant and the tenancy. And if you click Payment Schedule, you will see the payment for this period. Let's say I want a specific dates, just click Custom Period, and you can see the full payment schedule for this tenant. Starting this point, you can start tracking the rent for this tenant. If you want to do it, you can do it manually. And if you forgot, when you log into Lendlord, you will get a wizard that there are payments overdue, so you can, so the platform will guide you to track the rents. So I just track this rent. So if I go now to profit and loss, and I will select this specific property, on the monthly income and click edit, I can see that I track this rent for this unit. So one way to track the rent collection is from the payment schedules page, but the best practice, I would say, would be to link your bank account. Once you link your bank account, the platform will retrieve all the actual transactions from your bank account. So once the platform will identify that there is a rent payment from a specific tenant, it will ask you first to allocate it to the relevant property and the relevant tenant, but starting this point, it will track it and allocate all the payments for you, and you will see it on the payment schedule. All right, so this is the overview of the My Tenants page. Let's go to the next topic, how to review my data and insights on an ongoing basis. Or if we have questions, let me know.
Yeah, so we have questions that might be relevant now. So Stevo is asked, does the rent estimator works in Canada? So before I continue, you can answer that.
Okay, so yeah, let's read the entire question. Does the rent estimator work in Canada? What data source is that based on? I know Canada has very regional data sets, so I'm curious how accurate that information would be. So the answer for this is that currently we are still working to find the best partner to provide us with rent estimations. And you are right, rental data is not something that it's easy to get, and not all the time is fully accurate. For now, what we ask is from the landlords. So if you analyze new deal on the deal analyzer, you need to put your estimations, or based on your real estate broker, what is the expected rent for this property. We don't have an estimator here. And if you enter an existing property, you need to put the rent that you actually have in the lease agreement. And currently for Canada, we don't have the estimator, but trust me that we are working on having one hopefully very soon, using a partner with basically an API that we will see that we can trust the accuracy of the rent estimations. All right, so the last topic for today, how to review my data and insights on an ongoing basis. And here, Lendlord sends an email, a weekly report every week. And the weekly report basically linked to the interactive report. And the interactive report is the place to review your entire portfolio in one place. It starts with the level of equity you currently have on your portfolio, means the estimated value minus the loans balance. You can also see if you increase your debt to 75%, for instance, how much equity you can release from your portfolio, and what is the current leverage that you have. So currently, the entire portfolio has 50% loan to value in this example. Then you will see some metrics in terms of the performance of your entire portfolio. What was the net cash flow in the last 12 months? And what was the cash on cash? Basically, the cash on cash is the yield on your investment. And the best way to track the cash on cash is to go to the profit and loss page. And then let's select a specific property. And I will use the purchase cost. I will click edit. So this is very important. So it will take the purchase price from the data that you entered on my portfolio. Okay, but one second, you need to add all the other costs that were associated with the purchase. So if you had any refurbishment that you did, improvements of the property, furnishing, legal fees and other fees, you can just add purchase costs or capital costs. So the purchase costs on Lendlord means the costs that are not associated associated with the purchase and not ongoing expenses. So it's not something that we taking into account when we calculate your cash flow, but we're taking into account to calculate the cash investment. So how much basically cash you invested in this property that related to the purchase, or we can call it capital expense. Then we take the net cash flow on top of the cash investment, and this will be your cash on cash figure. On the profit and loss, if you want to see history, you can just use the buttons below the chart to go to historical years. Lendlord keep at least 5 years of history that you can manage using this wizard. In this wizard, you can actually track historical expenses or income. But of course, you can link account to your bank account and retrieve transactions, historical transactions, also allocate them. Let's go back now to the interactive report. So if you manage your transactions and the cash flow on the P&L, the performance metrics will be more accurate. Then you will see the top performing properties in different metrics. And you will see the worst performing properties. So perhaps there is a property that is not performing right now, and you might consider to sell it. And all the relevant reminders for the next 3 months. In the interactive report, you can also review all of your prospect properties in this wizard. And then you can go property by property. And when you go property by property, I showed it, I think, in the beginning, you can also, you can edit some of the data. You can review the data for a specific property, and you can see the performance of this specific property. And we also compare this property to other properties. So it might be valuable to understand how the performance of this property relatively to other properties on your portfolio. So this is the way to review the data in a high level. I see that we have 2 more questions. Yes, so let's see. Does the platform operate well with short-term rental properties, Airbnb? Any examples? So it's a good question. I would handle Airbnb property first. You can, of course, you can enter the data of this property on my portfolio, and then on my tenants, because it's short-term rental, and I would do it either by a unit. So I would not name the tenant. I would just name it as a unit. And if you have property with several units, you can put several properties, several units under a specific property. For instance, if we will select this property, you can see that there are 3 different tenancies under this property. So you can just name it instead of the names. You can say unit A, unit B, unit C. And then what I would do is on the payment schedule, yeah, I need to click here and then go to payment schedule for this specific unit. You can either delete all the payments that the platform created, because in Airbnb apartment, you know, it's very hard to put expected here, and then just create payments once you get a transaction. So I would just delete those. And then let's say that I received now a tenant that basically enter the unit for let's say 3 days. So here you will have the name of the unit, then can say, okay, so he will start on the 20th. So really, I would put the payment date and the transaction, let's say $600. And then, you know what, let's say that I will expect him to pay on next Tuesday. So you just need to add all the payments for the future transactions. So like all the transactions that you closed on Airbnb. And then once it's got paid, mark it as paid with the amount that actually paid and the date that the tenant paid. And this will be like the way you can actually track the rents, and it will, of course, will be added to your cash flow on the profit and loss page and will impact the performance of this property. So just create the tenant as a unit on my tenants. Let's even change it here. Okay. Delete the payment schedule, or don't use the payment schedule that the platform creates, and just create payments row on the payment schedule for each transaction. I hope it answered the question.
There is one more question from the beginning. I will read it for you. Can you provide a bit more details on how the tax report works? I use Stesa currently, but the tax report is not ideal. I have to manually track my CCA, etc.
All right. So yeah, so I think that I explained that the tax report on the reports page is not ideal also on Lendlord right now for Canada, but in the next 2 versions we are going to update it to be more accurate, and hopefully you will be able to track all the transactions on the transactions page and also apply some rules if you link your bank account. So hopefully we will have this module ready for the Canadian rules very soon. Let's see if, yeah, the other questions, or I can read them. Are you able to customize reports to personal preference, like a design mode where you can save specific data valuable to you? I think it's not a report, but if you want to customize the data that you want to see, I would use the views, and then you can create a dedicated view with all the details that you want to see on each property. And in terms of the P&L reports, it's currently not customizable. So basically, but you can filter the properties that you want to see in the report. What type of security is back in this platform with all this financial information being stored? A great question. So first, your Lendlord, the platform itself stored on AWS, Amazon Web Services, under security groups. All the communications is encrypted. We don't store any passwords on our database. Everything is hashed. And we encourage our users to apply 2-factor authentication to your account. Just to 1 second. Just to increase the security level of your account, just apply the 2-factor authentication. No one can access your data. We are not passing over any of your details to third parties. The only use case that someone will review the data is the support team with your written consent. So basically, we'll ask permission on this chat if there is a problem that we need to investigate. And then basically, based on your permission, one of the support team member will have access to review the problem. So the platform is secured and safe. Let's see if we have another question. Is technical support available 24 hours? Almost, not I would not say 24 hours, but we are available during the morning and noon, and I think early afternoon Canadian time. And there are some days that we are available also in the evenings for Canada. But if you didn't get any response in 1 or 2 hours, you will receive them the day after. So we are answering all the questions, the messages that we get on this chat. And of course, subscribe to our YouTube channel or like the other social media channels as well, relevant, because we constantly upload the content to those channels. Another question, how does the integration to Zero work? Do you import or export to Zero? Great question. We just import data from Zero. So the main cause of integrating Zero or integrating your bank accounts is to receive the transactions. So if you use Zero and you linked your bank accounts to Zero, then Lendlord will retrieve all the reconciled transactions every 24 hours. And I think that in Zero, it's hard to allocate a transaction to a property, for instance. So if you manage 20 properties or even only 5 properties and you want to see the performance of the properties, or you want to track your rent collection and you already have a Zero account, just link your Zero organization. The platform will retrieve the reconciled transactions, and then you can allocate them to the relevant properties and the relevant tenants. Okay. And we have, okay, the last question we have is Lendlord ISO compliant? Not right now, but we do have a security company that basically supervise mainly the security aspects of the platform, and we have a dedicated team member that this is his task, and we have all the relevant documents and GDPR in place, but not ISO. All right, so or I don't know if you have the links available, but you can schedule demos with our team. Just reach out on the chat, and feel free also to send us any feedback you have. If you want to see new features, or you want some enhancements, or of course, if you want to report bugs, or if you have questions how to use the platform. So thank you for joining. We will upload this webinar recording to our YouTube channel, and also we'll send it over an email. Thank you very much. Have a great night. Thanks.
For anybody who want a link, so I just put here on the chat, link to book a demo with us. Thank you.
Thanks, Oriel. Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.